What's up, everybody, and welcome back to the Early Apex podcast. I'm Rob, and
I'm Dylan.
And we have got a couple different topics for today's discussion. We're talking news. We've got our FMK section, and we've also got Dylan's hot take on the best cars to start off modifying.
This is a spicy take. It's a spicy take. Need a little extra water. So Miata, Miata is no longer the answer, folks. I've been feeling this for a little while, and I've got my reasoning. All right, and I can't just say, well, Miata is no longer the answer. I have to back this up with an argument.
So this is a feeling. It's been coming from your gut, from your heart,
and from my wallet. maybe more my wallet than anything else. But yeah, I don't think Miata. I don't think the acronym lives up to the name anymore. For a lot of different reasons. But what I've done here for this little segment is I'm going to break it down into three categories, right? I think the top three categories that people use this argument for. And the first one is best cheap track car, right? It's like the go-to. Hey, you want to learn how to drive on the track? Miata. That's always going to be your go-to.
That's correct.
And I think the main problem with the Miata... Now, what I'm talking about here is not just every Miata. Miata now spans, 40 years or something like that. I'm really talking about an NA and NB. Because those are what people most would think about when it's a cheap car. So just the
early, so they're talking 90 to 05 Miatas.
Yep, NA and NB Miatas, correct. And the reason is those cars have gone up in price quite a bit, especially NAs, right? NA is definitely not the answer anymore.
Yeah, no, if you want something without rust, you're talking 8, 9, 10.
Yeah, and here's the thing. Okay, so let's say you want to get into track driving. Let's not use, I want to get into a track, go to the track, and I want to buy a Miata. So let's just say $6,000. We find a deal, right? It's a 91. It's a 1.6 liter. They rev super nice, right? Now I'm a VVT for days. They have got no power. But let's say you've got that car for $6,000. Mm-hmm. You're gonna need off the bat, I would argue, at least $4,000 invested in the car to just be able to show up on track and function. And what I mean by that, it's going to be $1,000 immediately because you need a roll bar. Day one, before you even buy the car, you need $1,000 for the roll bar.
I mean, it's less, but yeah, you need to shell out for a roll bar immediately.
Okay, so is it less? For a hard dog, when I bought it, I want to say it was $800, $900 before shipping.
Okay, all right, maybe it is. Maybe I'm living in the past.
For new, you're talking about $1,000. Maybe you find one used. Okay, maybe you got a buddy who's like, I've realized that Miata is no longer the answer, and I'm parting out my Miata. No, maybe you can find one used, but I'd say that's about $1,000 that you're going to need to spend on day one. And then, of course, if it's a 20-plus-year-old car, it's going to need an overhaul, right? You're going to need to do brakes. You're going to need to do tires at the very least. I think the stock wheels are terrible, so I want to do the wheels as well. But let's just not use wheels. You're going to need tires for sure, brakes, and you're going to need some sort of suspension. You don't need to do coilovers. You don't need to do the fancy Olins or the Zetas that we have, but you're going to need something if it's a stock setup because they're blown to shit.
Okay,
right? And it's going to be blown.
I disagree with some fundamental pieces here, but let's keep.
So let me explore
where we're going.
So it's gonna require a lot of upfront costs on top of what the initial cost of the car is going to be, and I'm thinking that just now in today's market, there are better platforms that perform better at the track, that do faster lap times, that are just as reliable for less money, essentially all in. Right, and the first thing that comes to mind for this segment, what I'm going to use, I'm not going to be able to repeat any of these cars, but for this segment, if I was starting over and if I was wanting to go to the track today, it would be a 350Z for me.
I don't buy it.
You don't buy it.
I'm shaking my head. I don't buy it.
He's shaking his head on me. Okay, so what? Okay, where's the flaw in my argument? Why is Miata still the answer?
Well, I think so. First off, I think you're making that classic mistake that like everyone makes before they get on track, which is like, oh, like I have to upgrade everything about my car. Like unless I can, unless this thing is like fast and track prepped, it's not ready. But like you could go take that 1.6 and as long as it just hasn't been like heinously mistreated, as long as it just had like a yearly inspection, all you need to do, you do need the roll bar, you're correct. But after that, take it on the track.
Okay, here's the thing.
Even if it's on crappy all season, stock wheels, stock suspension, you don't need brakes. The thing makes 100 horsepower. You're not going fast enough. And that's it. Maybe go bleed your brake fluid. That's the only thing. Go bleed your brake fluid.
Let's just say I'm going to change my answer here because I like what you're saying here. Let's just say the goal is to turn laps as cheap as possible, right? I want driver mod. I don't care about the coilovers. I want as much driver mod as possible.
You're back to the Miata. Those rotors are like $20 a pop.
I want a Toyota Yaris, okay? I want a Toyota Yaris.
Well, you're not wrong. You probably do want a Yaris. You probably do want a Yaris.
It's gonna be bulletproof. And I don't need a roll bar for, and you're right, I buy that car, I don't even take it home, I just buy it and I drive it straight to the track.
I'm going to say...
And I'm going to turn laps.
You're correct, but it's going to be 10 times more fun in a rear-wheel drive Miata than it is in a Yaris, because the Yaris is just as slow.
I don't disagree.
Oh, man. I think if you take your bone stock 350 on the track... Number one, you're going to blow the engine. I think those VQs are just like, are known for having like oil starvation issues and the oil pan isn't baffled. And
you need something there.
One, you'll blow up your motor. Two, I don't think, unless there's probably like the track pack one that had bigger brakes from, back in the day. I think if you didn't get that one, you're going to cook those brakes. Like maybe you could get by with just like track pads,
Yeah. So my argument for the 350Z is definitely null and void because I think you're spot on where day one, you're going to need to invest some money.
We all know power costs money.
Power costs money.
And you're like tripling the horsepower at the 350 over the Miata.
And like doubling the weight.
Yeah.
So that's going to be high in consumables.
Tires cost twice as much.
So cancel... I'm immediately canceling my argument about the 350Z. I was wrong. You were right.
Yes.
Miata is still better than that.
Yes.
But it's if you want to turn cheap laps, go get a Toyota Yaris.
All right. Boom.
And do it. Okay. So
or
Toyota
a Mazda 2. Mazda 2s are sweet.
Yeah, you just throw your track wheels in the back because hatchback.
True.
Okay, so we've got some arguments there.
All right, so the track car we've debunked, but
we've debunked.
Well, we've migrated over to the Yaris, the incredible
Toyota
Yaris
is the answer, clearly.
All right, but what about the cheap sports car, right? Because the Miata was cheap sports car.
Yeah.
But now they are classic Japanese collectibles.
Yeah.
What is the car, Dylan?
Well, just like every classic cheap, Japanese sports car, it's all gotten really expensive. And you can spend a little bit more money, and you can get a Porsche Boxster, right? You can go out there and you can get the badge that means something. You can get the interior that's comfortable. All the creature
comes from real pedigree.
Real pedigree. You can tell all the ladies that you have a Porsche,
and they will be severely disappointed when they see your car. Severely, actually, they will get in and ask you, "So where's your Porsche?"
That's hilarious. It's actually not for the ladies. It's for the dudes.
It is for the dudes, and it's only for like the most secure in their sexuality dudes, because unlike a Miata, like a pop-up headlight Miata, it's at that point where it's cool. Almost anyone will be like, "Oh, that's a cool little car."
Yeah.
All right. To specify, guys, we're talking about the 986 Boxer,
986.
which is
986,
97 to 05.
Yeah.
It is a hideous car. It's still hideous. It still looks Not even a hint of masculinity.
No, not a straight edge on it.
And I am not sure it's ever going to come back around in the styling. Like some cars now that were ugly are coming around, and I don't think it's going to make it.
I feel like if it were to come around, it would have come around already.
Yeah.
Right? All the curvy cars are back being cool, and it is not a part of that club.
No. But excellent car. Yeah. I've driven a few. The 986 is an excellent driver's car. It's a mid-engine sports car designed from the ground up to be a sports car. Yeah. It's got aluminum subframes. It's a flat six. You can just like put an exhaust on. It doesn't make that much power, but like it screams. And 986s are like almost the same price as Miatas now. Some of them are, and they also like don't rust.
So it seems like you're like in
I'm
agreement.
Totally pro.
You're totally
pro. I've been saying this for a while.
Because I don't think the prices are the same. I think you need to, you're talking about like $2,000-$3,000 more, but you're talking about a car that's light years ahead of the Miata.
I think
you can also go and like road trip the car, like really, like it's comfortable.
Comfort level, like NVH, way better than a Miata. Way better.
It's bordering on a luxury car. Like it's Porsche has luxury aspects to its brand.
That car costs twice as much as the Miata in '99.
Yeah.
And
100%.
I will, to play devil's advocate, if the motor goes, the car is done. The motors are like $5,000 at the rock bottom. They've got the known problem with the IMS bearing, which is basically the crankshaft bearing self-destructs. There is a fix, but it's expensive, obviously, to do that. Drop the motor, pull the trans, etc. That's basically their Achilles heel. Like, it's a great motor that sounds great, but
here's my counter to that. If you buy the wrong NA Miata, you've got the long nose crank bolt that's gonna eject itself out of the front of your engine like it did me. Like I had that happen to me, so I know all the pain that caused. Now
you're also gonna have a lot of rust. You're gonna have a lot of rust and a lot of crap to get through.
Yeah.
The Boxsters don't rust. Like, go look on the used market; they don't rust. And everyone that bought them was like wealthy when they got them, so they all got garaged.
Yep.
I have not seen a rusty Boxster yet. I think Porsche is like doing nicer stuff with their steel to like make it not do that.
For sure. I mean, it's also, a 15-year newer car. It's a better all-around car for a little bit more money. Yes, you've got that IMS bearing you're dealing with, but I think it's worth it. And if you buy the right one, you can spend a little bit more money, buy it from an owner that's already had it done or something like that. It's a way better car if you want a second car. This is for a different topic, but an NA or NB Miata is not a good second car. It's a good third car. A Boxster, perfect second car.
Second car. That's a car like
6 months of the year.
Yeah.
No problem.
Yeah. Oh, totally.
Okay, so we're in agreement there. We're in agreement. So it's Yaris if you want to just turn cheap laps and the best budget sports car. It's a Boxster.
Go turn in your masculinity. Just like forget about all your like super masculine hang-ups and get yourself a Boxster.
I mean, if someone's considering a Miata, they've already done that. So now
I would hope so. I would hope so.
So now you just get a cool brand with a lot of heritage as opposed to, a bunch of simps online like us owning Miatas.
All the weebs out there.
All the weebs. Okay, so last category. And I might not have an immediate answer for this. I don't, actually. So we're going to talk it out.
Okay.
But I'm going to make the argument that it's not a Miata still. And that is, let's say you're buying a car and it's the first car you're learning how to work on. Now, I think, for me, the Miata was that for me, for the most part. Was that the case for you as well? Was your Miata essentially what you learned how to work on? Cars?
It wasn't my first car, but it was definitely what I learned how to work on. I think my first oil change was on a Mini Cooper, and I didn't screw the filter all the way back in and spewed oil all over my buddy's driveway. And later that day, the engine started knocking, and that was my first wrenching experience.
Oh, man. And you're still here. Wow.
I'm still here.
Impressive. That's
just the joys of being a dumb 18-year-old. But no, the Miata was definitely the car I learned to work on.
Yeah.
100%.
So for me, I've done brakes like back. My very first car was from my parents. It was a Saturn L series. Oh, it's a plastic sedan, and I did things like change the oil, general maintenance. But in terms of actually rolling up my sleeves and doing like real modifications and coilovers, engine swaps, and that sort of thing, Miata was what I learned on. And it is a great car for that. Okay, I'm not gonna like beat around the bush. It's a really easy car to work on in that regard.
I don't know if you're going to be able to convince me that it isn't the best car to learn the work on. All right, let's put a caveat here. Like, this is mostly a car show. Neither of us know jack about trucks and off-roading. Yeah. So I'm just going to leave out that like a Jeep Wrangler or something like that isn't the best like truck to learn the work on.
Yeah, this is car related. Now, I lived it, so it's hard to argue against. But I think there's a domestic, so we're in the US. I think there's a domestic car out there that's easier to work on. And I'm willing to bet that it's the SN, I think that's the chassis code, Mustang, SN95 Mustang. Right? I think it's that,
what years
90s.
Are this? What years are this?
The 90s, so the one that I'm trying to say, I don't know if, I don't think that's the right chassis
Is this
code.
the Barbie Mustang?
It's the Barbie Mustang, yes. Yes, and you know what? I'm blindly saying this, so comment down below about how wrong I am, but I know a couple of people that own this car. And I was exposed to people working on it as well, both V6 and V8. And the reason why I go with this car is that is like it has all the same things that the Miata has. There was a wealth of them. Everybody had like one of those cars. Yeah. There's parts everywhere. Like every advanced auto, I'm sure, still has.
All right. We're talking like fourth gen. So this is 94 to 04, I think. 94
to 04, yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm willing to bet that you could pretty much rebuild that car at like an advanced auto today. I'm willing to bet.
That's a strong point. That's a really strong point.
Yeah.
Wow.
Now,
okay.
There's
probably 100 times, if not 1,000 times, more of those Mustangs that were made than were Miatas.
That's the thing. And now you could make the argument, hey, the engine compartments, it's a V8, so there's less room. Room definitely matters a bit, but I think really why the Miata is so easy to work on or like learn how to work on is there's a wealth of knowledge out there.
Yeah.
You've got that with the
I was going to go to that. Yeah. There's so much knowledge on the Miata.
So much knowledge.
Any question has been answered online.
Parts are going to be the same, if not more plentiful. I'd argue more here in the US for sure. I think it's almost a little better too, being a little newer. That's the sweet spot of computers, right? And them
because they're still dumb. I mean, it runs the motor, it's running the ignition,
exactly.
But like it doesn't talk to anything. Yeah,
it's. I've got an OBD1 setup, and I'm still having to like jump wires like right now to get my tack to work. I'm in my OBD1 BS, and I'm like jumping a wire so my tack works. Like this shouldn't be a problem, but it is, and it's because it's a little too dated, right? Even with my standalone ECU, I've got to do this to get the.
So you want OBD2?
I want OBD2. I think that is like the main difference between the two. Now I could have chosen like a terrible.
You can get an OBD2 Miata. Most of them are OBD2. You're stuck in the past. This whole show, you're acting like only 1.6s exist. No, I think I'm going to go with you on this. Obviously, I am less experienced in the Ford world, and I don't know what the forums are like for this gen Mustang. Yeah, but I am sure there's much info out there about them.
Yeah, let us know if you're a Mustang guy. If you own this car, am I totally off basis? Let us know down below.
I think part availability is going to do it. Not to mention building a motor. Like, if you want to learn to build motors, go build American V8s. Like, there's so many parts out there.
So, in summary, the best car to track, not a Miata, it's a Yaris. The best sports car to own, it's not a Miata, it's a Porsche Boxster. Easiest car to work on and to learn how to work on, Mustang.
Hell yeah. Right there with you, brother.
All right, it is my turn to choose the segment of FMK here where I pitch you 3 cars and you need to choose between fuck, marry, or kill. And my segment is a little different. I always try to think a little outside the box here. And I'm going
You're very unique, Dylan. It's very, very unique.
That's what my parents tell me. So I'm choosing kit cars, right?
All right, okay. We're getting. I love this.
Okay.
I'm jealous. I didn't think of it. Continue.
Okay, so kit cars. There's a couple of different ways we can take this, and I lust over one of these. Let's see if you can figure out which one I lust over. But the first one is going to be a classic.
Okay.
Right? If anybody knows kit cars, right? Just real quick, a kit car. It's not the actual car. Typically, it's a replica of a car, and it's all the benefits of what the car looks like without any of the drawbacks of the cost. Typically, you're cutting a lot of cost. So, Factory 5, Shelby replica. Shelby Roadster replica is the first thing that comes to mind, right?
Cobra.
It's probably one of the most...
Yeah,
the Cobra. Sorry,
right.
thank you.
That's the
Shelby
car
Cobra.
everyone loves, and an original example costs $1 million.
Yeah, and I'm sure if you're a car person, you've gone to a Cars and Coffee and seen one of these. They're all over.
I saw like 3 this morning.
Yeah, and you can do a lot with them, right? So I'm not going to choose a color. Most of the time, I'll choose a color. I'm going to choose engines for these cars. So this is going to come with a 429.
It's a Factory 5 Cobra.
It's a Factory 5 Cobra, and it comes with the big engine, the 429 Ford V8, right? It's got to be a Ford V8, and I'm going to go with the big engine with this kit car option, the Shelby Cobra.
Okay,
So that's option 1. Okay.
Yeah.
Option number 2 is going to be the Superformance Ford GT kit car.
Superformance. All right. Oh,
right.
So we're talking classic Ford GT.
Classic Ford GT.
Yeah.
Now, what I'm going to do here is, again, I'm not talking about the color. I'm going to say that it comes with the small block, the 289. Right.
Okay.
Trying to even the field a little bit, right? So it comes with a small block, and let's say that this is definitely going to be a carbureted car. Okay.
Yeah. Ooh, it's carbureted. Okay. I'm all right with that. Both are carbureted. The Cobra's carbureted.
I would say the Cobra's carbureted too.
Okay. All right.
I'll say the Cobra's carbureted too.
So
we've got those two. And the last one is going to be a Caterham 7. And the model, so the Caterham 7 is like a specific type of car. The model is going to be their top model, which is the 620. And that comes with a Ford 4-cylinder that's supercharged and makes like 300 wheel, 310 wheel.
So wait, is that like the Cosworth motor?
No, it's the Ford Duratec.
Oh, Ford Duratec. Okay, cool.
Duratec,
yeah.
So that's and for those of you that don't know, this is what, like a Lotus 7 replica?
Yeah. I think Caterham, some purchasing of the rights from Lotus back in the day.
Yeah, it's a little loose. Like many people don't think of Caterham as a kit car. I mean, it's a kit car in the fact that you can buy the parts and put it together in your garage. Okay. But Caterham is very much like its own brand now. It's
well, in Europe, in England, you can buy a built Caterham. You can just buy one off the lot, basically.
Exactly. So those are the choices.
Okay.
Right.
And we're not factoring in me having to build one of these.
No,
they're handed to me.
You are handed the keys, right? And I tried.
I like that.
That's
just a little check. I wrote a check. All right.
Yeah,
feeling
you wrote a check.
Wealthy.
So between those 3 cars, what is your hot take?
And to define marry, because I think that's very important for these 3 cars. I have to drive this car every day. Like, this is my daily.
The marry, this is your. I'm keeping this.
Or I'm marrying a second car. Okay.
Yeah. It could be a second car.
Okay. So I've got.
Most of the time, we're choosing like sports cars, right? This is your forever.
This is the car I'm going to keep forever, but it's not the car I'm driving every day.
Primary sports car, your second car. Okay. You got to do everything with it. You got to take it to the track. You got to take it to Cars and Coffee.
I got you.
That sort of thing.
How much power is the 289 making?
Not a lot.
Like 250?
I would say you're probably like 300 at the crank. So
okay,
yeah,
300 at the crank.
It's probably around like 280.
What's a GT40 weigh? Like 2,000 pounds ish? Let's say. I'm
I
on the
say
website.
Like 22 or so.
Do they give me the weight? They tell me the size. The fuel tank's 22 gallons. I guess we're racing at Le Mans. Need a big fuel tank.
I don't see a spec for weight.
All right, I'm gonna assume
Superformance.
we're around like 2,000 pounds, maybe 2,400 tops. All right, it's
Yeah.
it's a quick car. That's a fast car. You know.
Yeah.
All right. Damn, that's actually really tough. I want to drive all of them. Which one am I gonna kill?
That's actually I didn't even really think of that yet because you got to kill one, right?
Yeah,
like I don't want
to.
I yeah.
Shit.
Yeah. This is actually tougher than I realized now that I thought about that. I'm gonna have to think about
and
this too.
I saw a Cobra today, and I saw a real Lotus 7 today with like the hand beating aluminum panels, and that really did something for me. I love the way those look. I love how insanely small they are. I love how it's like possibly more dangerous than a motorcycle. It's right on the edge of life and death every time you get in that thing.
You can't separate from it, right?
You can't separate. You can't dodge up. Yeah.
You're locked in.
Yeah.
Your fate is tied to this little tiny hunk of steel.
Oh, man. This is the toughest one you've given me. Crap. Okay.
This is good.
The Cobra's enticing me because I want to drive this 500 horsepower, just like roast the tires in every gear.
Yep.
I want that.
It's very tempting.
The 4GT is the most beautiful car out of them. Like that.
Yeah.
That is a beautiful car. It has so much heritage. It's like, there's something.
It's an icon.
It's an icon.
Is so iconic.
But the Caterham is just like something that, like, being a Miata man, it's the add lightness. The what was his name? The Colin Chapman. Like add lightness. That is the Caterham.
Yeah.
So I love the ethos of that car.
Yeah, the Caterham is like the cocaine to your caffeine. Oh, you've got a Miata? Oh yeah. Caffeine's great.
Yeah.
Let me show you what cocaine's like, right? Let me turn this all the way up to 11 here.
All right. I think I'm ready.
Okay.
I think I'm gonna kill the Cobra.
No way!
I'm killing the Cobra.
You're killing the Cobra!
And
oh my god.
I was never gonna marry
it
because
an American icon.
I was never gonna marry it.
There's just everywhere are hating you right now.
There's too many there's like so many Cobra kit cars. Like you see them all over the place. It's like kind of like almost like a dime a dozen. And in terms of like kit cars and cars like that, I don't know. I think there's almost like something that's kind of like old man New Balance-y to me about them.
Yeah.
And which am I marrying? God damn it.
I'm glad this is so difficult for you.
I think I'm gonna marry the 4GT because
nice.
It's prettier, right? I'm really superficial. It's prettier. I could, I like to, come home from work, go in the garage and just stand and stare at my car for a good while, just decompress.
Yep.
And I would rather stare at that.
Yep.
So the 4GT for the Mary. Also, engines are so important, and just having, even though it's only making 300 horse, just having a carbureted V8 behind me, just like making all that noise, just growling, just sounding like ferocious. That is a wonderful thing. Like I want that every day, forever.
Yeah.
And the Caterham 4-cylinder, I feel like is definitely just going to leave something lacking. Like it's a Ford Duratec. It's not like a motorsport engine. It's a 4-cylinder.
Yeah. So that's your one-off. That's your one-off.
Yeah. So I'm gonna go with the fuck on the one-time drive on the Caterham because I have to know how they drive. I've got to know. Okay.
I'm also wondering now, is it Caterham or is it Caterham?
I was wondering that too. I do not. I guess
we need to watch like Top Gear and see what the Brits say because it's a British company, right?
Yes, yeah, we're going to. I mean, my British heritage is screaming at me for not knowing that.
I'll keep going with.
But
Caterham.
I need that one ride in the Caterham. You know, it's. I have to know. I've always wondered, like, how do they drive? Like, I feel like the originals had like a solid rear axle setup or something. Like, it kind of seems like you're going to be hopping all over the road. But you know, maybe like modern Caterhams like are really actually like well put together, like stiff chassis cars. So I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. But Ford GT is what I want to look at every day. Also, it's to me like super baller, like taking that to like any event. You know, like any track day, any car event. Like, I don't know. I so rarely see a Ford GT kit car for some reason.
So before I tell you my choices, what car do you think I'm lusting over? I mentioned one of these three I'm lusting over.
I think you're going to marry the Caterham.
Really? Oh! Dude, no. This is going to happen. This is the first time I think this has happened in this segment. We agree 100%.
Wow.
100%.
Really? I thought...
It's
I almost thought you were going to tell me you're going to, like, you know, get the Shelby and I was going to buy you a pair of New Balances to, like, congratulate you on that.
That is a great joke, and I love it. But no, it's for similar reasonings. The car that I lust over, it's the Ford GT. Right? I want, like, that is my absolute dream. Is to
the
get
Heritage
a kit car.
is incredible.
The Heritage, like the shape. I don't care what engine it's in. As long as it's making a lumpy V8 sound, I could give a shit. It's not about the speed or anything like that. It's about the experience of that car.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's the things that I would do for that car. And then you're spot on with the Shelby. I've seen that many times here in the States.
Yeah.
It's cool. It's cool. I'm not taking anything away. I love the heritage of that car too. Maybe I should have chosen the Shelby Daytona to make this a little more interesting.
That would have made it more interesting. Daytona is a really cool looking car.
It's a really cool looking car, and you don't see him. But the thing with the Shelby is you do see the Shelby Cobra. You do see him before, and then the Caterham for me, I gotta know what that's like. I've driven a Lotus Exige. I'd imagine that it's like this car is that, but again turned up to like 11.
I
right?
think it's gonna have more in common with literally a go-kart or like I don't know. I've driven like a single seater, like I think it's called like a Formula 500 kart, like something like that. Like I don't know.
I have
I gotta find
friend, Jim. Shout out if you're listening to this. I doubt you'll see this at any point. But Jim, owner of Spiked Performance, Hood Louver company, he got one recently, and he absolutely adores the experience of that car. Now,
you gotta get in that thing.
Yeah. Now he lives in California. I'm not marrying that car living in the East Coast because that is not a 6 month of the year car. That you are exposed to the elements. There's no top on it.
I didn't even think about that, but you're right. Like the Ford GT, you can go. I mean, even if you don't put heat in it, probably none of them have heat. You could go drive that when it's like 40 degrees out. Like you took out of your garage, you know, you wear a jacket.
I've got a matching bomber jacket. All right. I've got a matching bomber golf livery jacket for my Ford GT that I get in.
And you got your leather helmet and your goggles and your gloves.
Absolutely. My freaking corncob pipe, you know.
You get out. You're like doing a 1960s reenactment.
Absolutely. I'm buying the car specifically for cosplaying. That's the only reason why I'm buying the car, actually.
Can I just say, there is a kit car. All right, crap. There's two kit cars I actually really lust after.
Okay.
And that is, I really want a 550 Spider, a Porsche 550 Spider, right? I mean, that car has incredible heritage. Who died in that car? Famous actor who also moonlighted as a race car driver.
Bullet?
Yes.
Shit. Steve McQueen.
Steve McQueen died in one. Like, I mean,
terrible.
It's such a beautiful car. And like, you just put like a Volkswagen flat 4 in it, which is basically what would have been in it anyway. And they're reasonably affordable, like 30 grand, you know?
Yeah.
And it's such a special, beautiful car. That, and I also want a Lancia Stratos. Also because the Stratos is unobtainium. I think one went on bat for $500,000 recently.
Yep.
So just like Lancia Stratos kit car, you will never see one in America ever.
Never. Ever.
No one will know what you're driving.
Ever.
It just looks like you're driving like a spaceship from the 80s.
Yeah.
And it's a rally car.
That's dope. That is
and
what a
it's
kit
sick.
car.
And you put an Alpha
in my
V6
opinion,
in it, and it will sound incredible. The best sounding V6.
Oh, that'd be so good. That's what a kit car should do for me, in my opinion. I get the Shelby Cobra. I get why people do it here in the States, but like what it really should be is something that is unobtainium.
Yeah.
Right. And a Shelby Cobra is.
Well,
right?
I think we're going to see a lot of that as our generation gets older and starts retiring, you know? Mm-hmm. I mean, that's a while off. But the generation that was building the Cobras, they were all the people who were like 10 years old when the Cobra came out. And that was like, oh, that was the car. Like, that was incredible. That's what you like dreamed about. That was the poster on your wall. And now they're unobtainium because they're insanely rare and expensive. So that's why the kit car market like exploded. I think we might see more kit cars for the stuff that become unobtainium for us, but that we lust after. Like, I mean, this is hard to achieve because also like the Ford V8s you're putting in the Cobra are still cheap engines. Like, but like maybe we'd see an F40 kit car. Mm-hmm. But there's no motor. There's no motor that would be equivalent to put in it that's affordable. There's no, unfortunately.
Yeah, that would give you that same experience, right?
Yeah, no. Unfortunately, all those motors are expensive.
Yeah, whereas you could pull that off with the Ford GT. And the cool thing is, now the newest GT, there are still elements of that shape and that look. It's few and far between, but they're there.
Yeah.
But like
the car. The car is there.
The car's there. But like the first, the 100th anniversary one that they did in the late 90s or mid thousands,
06, 05,
that was
06,
just a new, like it's still the same shape. It's just slightly different. Like it's still that iconic shape, and I think that's part of the reason why I'll build an old one. Like it's almost the same exact car.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah, and that era Ford GT is literally it looks so similar,
and
which was the right decision.
Yeah, and I'd lean into the old one because it'd be easier to build. Right? I don't... Oh, yeah, there's panel gaps. You know, the engine's burning a little oil.
I can't even imagine trying
lumpy.
to build... Well, the great thing about, like, kit cars that are cars from that era is, like, now we can make them better, affordably. Yeah. Like, the 550 Spider, like, replicas, like, I mean, it's not hand-beat in panels, but other than that, like, I'm sure everything about the cars are better. Like, the new Cobras, I'm sure everything about them is better. The engines are definitely better. Like, and because of, modern manufacturing techniques and stress analysis and all that crap, like you can build a better frame. Where the hell am I going with this? The Ford GT, like the one you would build now is probably in a lot of ways better than the original one because of those reasons. Yep. Yeah. But if you tried to rebuild any modern hypercar or even a Ferrari F40, like those are carbon monocoupe cars. And I mean, carbon is getting cheaper, but I don't really see kit cars being made out of carbon monocoupe. Maybe we'll get there, but like that, they're already so far advanced. I'm not sure we're going to get to a place where we'll see a better version of that car, for anything that's affordable, affordable.
Now, the one issue also with the carbon monocoque is not only... I think that technology, it's coming around, but I'm fairly sure they do this with cars as well. I'm really into bikes, road cycling and stuff. Not every carbon fiber bike is the same. They might look identical. They might have the same exact mold, but the carbon layup matters, right? The way you put the weaves on there. The way, the directions, the type of weave. To replicate what Ferrari's doing, it's not just a mold. It's not just a shape. I'm sure there's going to be different weaves and stuff in there that's going to be hard to figure out.
No, 100%. And there is like the danger of cheap carbon and you not being able to tell. Yeah. And I mean, you could say that about any steel tube frame chassis, like, crappy welds and that stuff. But that's a much more like known and understood process. Mm-hmm. And all carbon is coming from Taiwan, China, basically, except for some very small exceptions to that. So like... keeping that quality control there and doing it affordably could definitely be dangerous.
Yeah. Whereas, you can have like a UCI inspecting your welds before shipping out a space frame or a steel frame, to the client. Cool. So comment down below. What kit car would you choose of the three? What kit cars do you like?
Yeah, give us your favorite kit cars, guys, because I'm sure there's a lot out there that we have no idea about.
What unobtainium car would you want to have as a kit car, and you could potentially one day realistically afford?
Yes,
I might be able to do that as a GT.
What's the car you want to see as a kit car? Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So finally, we've got this bit of news that BBC just dropped the other day, and I'm sure everyone knows where I'm going with this now. I said BBC is Top Gear, and that they've decided not to keep going with the 34th season of the show because of the near fatal crash that happened to Freddie Flintoff during like one of the typical stunts that they do in the show.
Yeah, huge news.
It's big news, because they didn't even stop after the whole Jeremy
Hammond.
Clarkson thing. Punching one of the crew members. They still piled on with another season after the whole cast left.
Yeah, and even with that cast, Richard Hammond had that accident with like the jet car, right?
He had in like 2005. He was really close to death after the jet car accident.
Yeah,
and then this is probably after Top Gear, but he crashed the electric car. The electric supercar. I guess that was after Top Gear.
That was after Top
Grand
Gear,
Tour
but
days. So
yeah.
It's interesting. So basically what happened was, if you haven't seen the news, because he crashed like, I don't know, 3-4 months ago. I think it's December maybe. Anyways, a while ago. He's on this crazy machine that is like a motorcycle engine, but is in it like a freaking bobsled. And there's 2 wheels on the front that look like motorcycle wheels that are like outside of his arms. And then there's like a center rear tire. It's like a tricycle setup. It really looks like he's like hopping in a one-man bobsled, like with his face going forwards.
I was going to say, he's like on his stomach.
He's on his stomach with his face like looking up. Like it looks like an insane machine. Oh,
it's a skeleton. It's a skeleton.
Oh, you know what these things are? I don't even, I did not unaware
so bobsled,
of this.
you're like sitting in it like a car. Skeleton are like, it's taken that to a whole nother level where they're on a sled.
Okay, you're all in on the Winter Olympic sports.
I am all in. All in on the Winter Olympics.
Not a bobsled. It's a skeleton.
That's crazy.
Yeah,
that's
so
crazy.
it's like a freaking skeleton on land.
That's nuts.
And he's like drag racing the other guys and whatever, some random things. And he, gets past the finish line. And the headline is he was going 124 miles an hour. I don't know if that's how fast he was going when he crashed or when he crossed the finish line. But basically, they've released a video like leading up to the crash, and you hear him saying like, "I can't brake. There's no brakes." And so he just goes across the line. They're on that runway strip, and he just keeps going. And he goes straight. They cut the video, but it looked like he went into some of that like steel barrier that they use for like crowds, like when you have like lines and crowds and stuff, some of that, and then just grass after that. But going probably 100 miles an hour, if not the full 124 that the tabloid stated. Pretty rough. I mean, basically, it's a motorcycle crash. Maybe even worse because you're like in this really weird position. I don't know if that's worse for your body, but apparently he's got extensive injuries to his face, and he's pretty screwed up. He's living. He's gonna live. I didn't see any mention of like permanent damage to himself, or maybe he'll have some scarring or something. No like brain damage or like mobility things, but
that's
bad.
Yeah, that's. I would definitely say that's a worse way to fall. Leading with your head. All jokes aside, like that's your leading edge, right? Is your face. If you're on a bike, you see the guys in MotoGP get thrown. Often the first thing that's hitting the ground is like it's hands or legs, typically knees sometimes.
Something to break the impact.
Yeah, something that's that leading edge. That's not your face.
Yeah,
right?
not your face. Like, leading with your face is
literally
not a good
leading
thing.
with your face. I don't want to make too many jokes about this because it is a serious injury and that sort of thing. I am surprised though that they're stopping Top Gear altogether for this because it isn't the first time they've had an accident. within the company.
I just cooked up a conspiracy theory in this moment.
Oh,
thinking about that, like why? Okay, like they've had crashes before, near fatal, etc. Yeah, exactly. Why now? I mean, one, you've got it's like more progressive times. We're more like cared about people's well-being. Everything's getting safer. Racing is safer. Blah blah blah.
Yep.
My conspiracy theory is that post, the leaving of the three great hosts, I'm sure viewership must be halved. Like it must be way down. And so now that viewership is way down, they're like, I guess we can like afford to lose this for a season, lose the revenue, the ad revenue, and so they're like, let's do the good marketing ploy and spin it as like, oh, we're moral people here, and in the face of this horrible tragic accident, we have to stop, morally. That's just my conspiracy theory. Sure, there's no way to prove that unless you're.
I will say I could even go a different way. But on a similar idea, and that is maybe they're just concerned about the backlash. Oh my God, you guys aren't stopping? Like,
100%. I mean, with
I could see them being concerned about the outrage,
right? With modern cancel culture, I could definitely see them being worried about that, trying to get ahead of it. 100%.
Yeah, I'll say this in general. I think it's a lot harder for these large media corporations to navigate the landscape of today's media, right? If this was just an accident on a large YouTube page, obviously, whatever they are going through, like they're going to be dealing with, and I'm sure like people would be concerned about it and that sort of thing. But I just feel like a giant corporation such as Top Gear that has content in all different formats, they've had shows all different in all different countries across the world. Yeah, it's a lot harder for them to pivot and navigate situations like this, I feel like.
Absolutely. They can't move as fast. I mean, obviously, it's like, if this was a YouTube channel, it's filmed one day and released the next and released instantly on IG. And they filmed this months ago. Like, it doesn't get released till 6-9 months after it's shot. So, they're slow moving, and they are also like beholden to the BBC. And I mean, the BBC has it's a news company, and it has really, rigid guidelines as to how they present themselves to the world and all that stuff. So like, they can't like pivot and jump around and say whatever like, a YouTuber can. I feel like also, I mean, we're less tolerant now of like danger and like putting, basically entertainers in danger like this. Like, going back in time, I mean, there's a history of dangers, or entertainers putting themselves in danger and everyone being fine and happy with it, 100 years ago, 150 years ago. I mean, even 50 years ago in racing, there's
here's the thing.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, go. I was just going to say that the first thing that does come to mind though is Jackass. Like that is a group of guys that literally
I didn't see Jackass coming into this, but I think you're so right.
Because they're still making movies, right? Well, I don't know how, but like it's very much like quite literally media exchanging Jackass the dollar 3D for watching people get fucked up
for like, absolutely no reason. They're trying to get fucked up. The whole point is to be fucked up. That's the whole point.
Maybe that's how they get a get out of jail free card, because literally, like that is the whole point. Right? The whole point is them that...
They never tried to be anything else.
It's true.
They never tried to be anything. So
maybe
they
that's
weren't
how
even
they
pretending.
This whole situation. But...
no, you're so right. Well, here's the thing, that Jackass is not popular anymore. I think like the modern Jackass movie is not... No one thinks of Jackass and thinks it's current. Everyone's like, the early 2000s were crazy, man. Like, we did crazy shit
those
back
guys
then.
are not on their way up.
No,
still,
absolutely
right?
not.
They're not. The Zoomers are not going out to theaters and watching Jackass 4D or whatever the new
I was
one
going to
is.
say, like, just in like racing, like there's
Yeah.
way less fatalities in racing. F1, there used to be like a death every year. Some years there's like 3 fatalities in 1 year.
Yeah.
And now you don't see that. Everything is way safer. Everything is safer. Cars are safer. The world is a safer place in a first world country.
So they're stopping the season, or are they stopping Top Gear altogether?
They're stopping the season.
They're stopping
the season. I think they're just sort of like waiting until good old Freddie Flintoff gets better. Maybe they want to have him back as the host instead of like him being absent or what have you.
That is something else too that could be playing a role in this, and that is we don't want to have that mentality of the show must go on.
Yeah.
Right. Like, this is an integral member of the team. We care about them. This isn't just like a 9-to-5 job that we can just throw somebody else in.
Yeah.
Our hosts, they have chemistry. We don't want to stand in to just, get thrown into the mix.
Yeah. I mean, you saw that when Clarkson got fired, right?
Yeah.
I mean, Richard and James both rallied around him and said, nah, like we're boys and we're not doing it without him.
Yeah. And like, I haven't watched the show much in recent years, but there is something to be said about having chemistry with a co-host, or in their case, a trio of hosts that you can't fake. Right, you can't just put in an honest days of work.
Oh,
right?
Everyone knows that's why Top Gear was the best, one of the best shows on like TV. Period.
Yeah,
it was that chemistry.
Yeah. There's a reason why we didn't have cable growing up, but when we were on the road and we were traveling with my parents and we had cable, that's why I could turn that show on. And my mom, who now does care a little bit more about cars, but at the time despised everything that had to do with like car culture and anything like that, and loved watching Top Gear.
Yes.
Loved it.
Yeah, and that's great presenters.
Yeah.
That had great chemistry. I just wanted to pull this out as well, talking about, presenters getting hurt, and you can't not think about the last special, the last Grand Tour special where James May destroys that Evo and himself.
Yeah. For those of you that haven't seen it, he's racing in a tunnel, and they had some like crazy stakes at it where they were timing everybody, and it was a dark tunnel, and they had to make a turn, right? They had to make a left-hand turn.
It's literally you're in a tunnel, 1 lane wide, and it's X long, and at the end of the tunnel is a solid stone wall, and there is no turn off. Like, there's no escape.
There's no escape. It's a tunnel. You are going one direction, and there's no bailing out.
And the game was you have to. I think it was like you have to either get the top speed in the tunnel or I think it was top speed in the tunnel, but basically floor it as long as you can until you have the ball, the balls to break.
Balls to back out.
Yeah, back out. And James goes too hard. And I had heard about it before I watched it.
Yep.
And I was not ready for how just raw it was. Like, it was like I just watched a YouTube video of someone getting in a car accident. Like, it was raw for, big scale TV like that.
Yeah.
And as the shows go on, sometimes you feel like, like they're faking this. Like, they create these scenarios that are not real. Like, it's fake drama. It's just it's brewed up drama.
They're stirring the pot.
And this was one of those moments where you're like, oh shit! Like they're still really doing these stunts, and it's dangerous, and it was shocking. I'm afraid to say, I'm going to say it. I'm not sure. Like, I think that's part of motorsport. I think there's a lot of, I think my camera just went off, but we're going to keep going. I think there's like a lot of, I think there's a lot of sports out there that wouldn't be what they are without the inherent danger, without the adrenaline, like whatever, mountain biking, snowboarding, skiing, like so many of these sports, like if there wasn't any danger, if there wasn't any speed, they wouldn't be what they are. They wouldn't be like the rush, why everyone loves them. And I think motorsport is one of them, and it is inherently dangerous. And even if you're just making a TV show about driving fast cars for fun, like if you're doing these stunts to like make it the most interesting show, it's going to be dangerous. And that is what it is.
It is what it is, yeah. If you want to make this kind of content, it is what it is. I think you can do some safety precautions like F1 has done, like you brought that up. You know, they haven't had a fatality in many, many years. They've had close calls with like Roman Grosjean and the fiery crash and him escaping it and stuff like that. So you still have these close calls, even with modern technology. The Halo's involved now.
Absolutely. I'm all
F1.
about that. Like, let's make it safer.
But you're still having those moments where it's like Roman Grosjean could have died in that fiery crash.
Yeah.
He is incredibly lucky. So even with today's technology and all the precautions and that sort of thing, you know, with Top Gear doing these stunts and Grand Tour and doing those stunts, there is still an element of that's going to be in play.
Absolutely. Yeah. And that might just be the unfortunate truth about it that maybe some people don't want to think about, but
yeah,
you know, that might be why we're out there doing it.
So we're all just
I won't talk about Tail of the Dragon, but yeah, it's yeah.
That's too funny. So yeah, comment down below, you know, what were your thoughts on Top Gear stopping that? I don't think these accidents are going anywhere. Obviously, we're happy that he's okay. But yeah, I think you're right. I think the big takeaway is this risk is inherent to the sport itself. When you're running, you're going to get injured at some point, right? It's just a matter of, it's not necessarily a matter of when, it's not a matter of if, it's just a matter of when, right? With all these people racing cars around, something's going to happen.
All right.
At some point.
Let us know what you think, guys. Like, are we right? Like, is the danger inherent? Is it like integral to motorsport, to these car shows? I don't know. Should it be safer? You know, is that just like bullshit? They can make it safer.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Let us know.